Aid system or aid architecture refers to how development stakeholders manage, monitor, and assess official development assistance or ODA. ODA, or simply known as aid, is defined as a public resource that promotes and targets the economic development and welfare of developing countries in the Global South. Aid comes in the form of grants or loans. Grants are transfers made in cash, goods, or services for which no repayment is required, while loans are transfers for which repayment is required. Aid may also come in the form of blended finance, or the use of development funds to attract private investment, or technical assistance, which is a non-financial assistance that includes sharing information and expertise, instruction, skills training, transmission of working knowledge, and consulting services. There are two types of aid or ODA flows. One is bilateral aid, and second is multilateral aid. Bilateral aid is the assistance given by a donor government directly to a developing country government. Meanwhile, multilateral aid is the assistance provided by donor governments to organizations like the United Nations and international finance institutions such as the World Bank and Asian Development Bank. They, in turn, implement development programs in developing countries. But the aid system is not as smooth and easy as it seems. The truth is, the aid architecture is quite fragmented and complicated because donors get to decide how to use their ODA depending on their priorities. Unfortunately, these are often driven by their foreign policy objectives or their historical relationship with developing countries. Before we go further, let's take a look at the 6 major players of the aid system. Number 1. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD. Number 2. Multilateral institutions. Number 3. Bilateral agencies. Number 4. Global and Regional International Finance Institutions, or IFIs. Number 5. The private sector. And number 6. Civil society organizations. One of the major issues within the aid system is the failure of many donor governments in achieving the internationally agreed 0.7% ODA that targets to reduce global poverty and all forms of inequalities. Another contention is the increasing role of the private sector in development, wherein ODA is used to catalyze private investments. But evidence-based research produced by CSOs shows the grave impacts of the corporatization of development in local communities. Often, private sector intervention leads to human rights violations such as forced displacement, loss of livelihood, food insecurity, militarization, and environment degradation. All these result in worsening conflict and fragility of many developing states. To support in exacting accountability from all development actors, the Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation, or GPEDC, was founded in 2012. It is tasked to promote the 4 principles of development effectiveness and to monitor the adherence of all development actors toward achieving the Agenda 2030. Another mechanism for international cooperation is the South-South Cooperation, or SSC, which is initiated, organized, and led by the developing countries themselves, with the governments most often playing the lead role, but which should also involve CSOs, individuals, and private and public institutions. It often involves cooperative exchanges of knowledge, skills, resources, and technical know-how. SSC has distinct characteristics compared to the traditional North-South development assistance. This means that SSC cannot be equated to ODA, nor is it a substitute to the waning development commitments of donor countries in the global north. Apart from historical and political differences, there are established characteristics and principles that set SSC apart from traditional ODA. These are solidarity, horizontality, demand-drivenness, capacity development, southern knowledge, and adaptability. But we still have a long way to go to transform development cooperation as a truly inclusive, democratic, human rights-based, and equitable system. As development cooperation is crucial in the realization of sustainable development, partnerships should not reinforce existing unjust relationships and undemocratic practices. Instead, a new development cooperation architecture should be based on solidarity and mutuality, people's sovereignty, inclusiveness and democracy, and accountability of duty bearers.